She thought I was just another hiker, trespassing on her precious HOA trails, so she called 911, demanding I'd be arrested. But the moment the officers arrived and saw me, they didn't cuff me, because what Karen didn't know was that I wasn't just a landowner, was under federal protection tied to an active investigation. And by the time the sun set, her HOA was under investigation. She was facing charges, and that trail, still mine. The sun had just broken over the treetops, casting golden light across my private stretch of forest that led down to my cabin that had been in my family for 3 generations. I had returned after 6 months away, part of a reassignment that kept me off-grid due to my role in a sensitive federal investigation. While the place was remote, it wasn't untouched by bureaucracy, something I was painfully reminded of the moment I saw the freshly installed HOA property. No trespassing sign staked right into the trail I owned. Asterisk, I sighed. The HOA for a gated neighborhood on the far side of the ridge had been pushing boundaries literally. I'd heard complaints before I left for duty, but now it was worse. Their president, a woman nicknamed HOA Karen by both locals and exasperated members alike, had a reputation for going nuclear over imaginary rules. Now she was claiming a trail that was clearly marked on every county map as mine. Asterisk, I took a slow walk down my path, enjoying the crisp air. I didn't even make it halfway down the trail before I heard the grating voice. Asterisk, you there? Hey, you're trespassing. Asterisk, I turned. Blonde Bob helmeted under a sun visor, clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she was preparing for a lawsuit. She wore an HOA badge like it meant federal authority and stood next to a manicured golf cart that looked ridiculous this deep into the woods. Asterisk, this is private HOA property, she barked. Asterisk, this is my trail, I replied calmly. I own everything from that oak tree to the lake. Asterisk, impossible, she sneered. We voted. It's HOA property now. Asterisk, I blinked. You voted to take my land. Asterisk, she didn't even flinch. We decided it serves community interests better. That's how democracy works. Asterisk, I almost laughed. But Karen wasn't bluffing. She whipped out her phone and dialed 911 right in front of me. Asterisk, yes. Hello. There's a suspicious man in military gear walking on HOA property. I don't feel safe. He's aggressive and has a large dog. Asterisk, I stood still. Scout barked once. I heard sirens faintly in the distance. Asterisk, don't move, she said, emboldened. The sheriff's department is very responsive to our calls. Asterisk, oh, this was going to be good. Asterisk, what Karen didn't know what nobody in the HOA knew was that I had returned under quiet federal protection after testifying in a corruption probe. My involvement in dismantling a major interstate syndicate had resulted in threats against my life. A federal marshal had personally coordinated my reintegration back at my family property. My identity was flagged for priority verification across all law enforcement systems. In other words, I was untouchable for now. Asterisk, within minutes, 2 police cruisers rolled up, tires crunching leaves, lights flashing. 2 officers stepped out cautiously. They spotted me, scanned their devices, and their expressions immediately changed. Asterisk, Karen marched over. Officers, that's him. I demand he be removed from our trail. Asterisk, one officer looked at her, then back at me. Sir, are you? I nodded and handed him a sealed envelope from my jacket. He opened it, read, for 2 seconds, and immediately stood at attention. Understood, sir. Asterisk, Karen blinked. Wait, what's going on? Why are you saluting him? That man is a trespasser. I want him arrested. Asterisk, the first officer turned, voice hard. That man is under federal protection. His presence here is legal, verified, and protected under statute. You have no jurisdiction on this trail. Karen paled, and furthermore, he continued, we'll need to file a report regarding your false claims. Making a knowingly misleading 911 call is a chargeable offense. Asterisk, Karen sputtered. But, he said, it was his trail. Asterisk it. Is his trail, ma'am? Said the second officer, now visibly annoyed. I suggest you leave before this gets worse. Asterisk, Karen's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. She looked like a fish out of water, gasping for some last authority, but there was none. She got in her cart and peeled off, tires squealing against pine needles. I gave the officers a small nod. "Appreciate the support," I said. The first officer grinned. "Not every day we get to shut down a power-happy HOA with a clipboard." Ass. They drove off. Scout sat beside me, tail wagging. I stared down the trail toward my cabin. Karen had fired the first shot, and now the war had begun. 2 days passed. I thought that after her public humiliation, Karen would slither away and maybe rethink her approach. I underestimated her. If anything, she doubled down. The next morning, a certified envelope was waiting on my cabin porch. Official-looking document from the HOA's law firm demanding I cease all unauthorized occupancy of the trail or face a civil suit. This time, I didn't call the sheriff. I made one call to my U.S. Marshal handler. By that evening, 3 vehicles arrived: a black SUV with government plates, a county land surveyor's truck. If Karen wanted to go legal, we'd go nuclear. The surveyor spent an hour driving stakes along the trail. He confirmed what we already knew: the trail, the land. Even the brush Karen claimed for a future community nature center all belonged to me. Then came the best part. The federal agent hand-delivered a cease and desist letter to the HOA headquarters. The letter stated that any further attempts to interfere with a federally protected person's land, movement, or security would result in criminal charges including obstruction of justice. But Karen. I caught 2 HOA volunteers trying to post new no trespassing signs on the trail. I filmed the whole thing and I approached. They ran like kids egging a house. I submitted the footage to the federal liaison. The response was swift. A formal investigation into the HOA's land practices. Turns out this wasn't their first land grab. 2 nearby property owners had also filed complaints, and now with federal attention, those minor issues exploded into criminal territory. Fraud, misuse of funds, unauthorized land annexation, it all came pouring out. At the emergency HOA meeting a week later, recorded by local news, her microphone was cut mid-rant and a board member revealed she'd diverted HOA dues to fight her bogus lawsuit against me. And then the cherry on top. She was served on the spot with a civil suit by one of the very officers who responded to the trail call, acting as a county marshal that day. Back at my cabin, I watched it unfold live on the TV. Scout lay next to the fire, tail thumping in approval. Eventually, Karen moved out of the community entirely, selling her home under market value after being ostracized. Her name became a warning tale in HOA circles across the state. As for the trail, I built a small bench at the trailhead with a plaque that reads, Federal Path, Respect Boundaries. I don't mind, the woods are peaceful again. And if any future HOA Karen wants to test boundaries, well, let's just say I still have the U.S. Marshal on speed dial.